Hi, everybody. I'm Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice, and I'm here with my returning guest, NiK Kacy. NiK Kacy is the founder and president of NiK Kacy Footwear. So welcome back, NiK.
Yay, thank you for having me.
Again, the enthusiasm is overwhelming. But no, this is actually important. So gender fluid clothing, which is what you specialize in, that is very important, and you enlightened me as to why that is important. So would you tell everybody in a simple way possible why you came up with this brand?
Yeah, so I mean, creating the first gender equal footwear and accessories company really was born out of my own experience, like just not being able to find shoes that fit both my feet and my identity and expression, right? So, and this came from a very young age, even before I understood what identity and expression was. I just knew I wanted to wear what my cousin, who's a boy, was wearing, and I didn't understand why my options were, limited to like pink and, you know, purples, like things that were just very like historically, traditionally girly.
Yeah.
And for me as a child, I just knew that I was like, but I don't want that. I don't want to look like that or be represented in that way,
Yeah.
be pigeonholed into something that I already knew from a very, very young age that I didn't feel comfortable with. And of course my mom, who's like the ultra diva, super fashionable, I mean just gorgeous, and I was like her little doll. She wanted to put me and turn me into her little doll, and I always think back and I thought, man, did that suck for her. She got the kid that was just like, no, I will not wear that, and I would put up the biggest tantrums. And at that time, I didn't know how to express myself as to why, I didn't want to wear it. I just knew I did not want to wear it.
Yeah.
And that was it. And yeah. And so when I started out creating the shoe brand, I thought to myself, I'm going to create the shoes that I've always wanted, but I could never find because they were never in my size. Because I have such average size, feet for people assigned female at birth,
Mm-hmm.
that no man shoe existed in my size because it was just one like half a size shy
Yeah.
of their smallest size, and I remember just feeling like so humiliated and ashamed when I would go to, men's section looking for my shoe, and I would find the coolest shoes, and they'd be like, "You're in the wrong section. Like, go to the women's section," or like, "What are you doing here?" Like so many times that I just be like, "I just want a pair of shoes. Like, why does it matter? Why does it have to be a section?
Yes.
Can it just be what's your smallest size?" And then when I would like started finding brands that would do kind of androgynous styles and that would come in both men and women's sizes, they would send me like, "Oh, we actually have this in the women's size," and I would kind of get excited because I was like, "Fine, like I don't really feel that way, but if it fits, I'll take it." And so I would go over to the women's section, put on supposedly the same design, and for some reason, when I would put it on, I'd look down and I would look down and think, why do I all of a sudden look like I have children's feet? Like, you know,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
a child at the time. Like, I was already either like a teenager or even like a college student. Like, I just remember finding cool boots and looking down in the women's size and be like, I tried the men's size that was half a size too big.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put on the women's size, and then it looks like all of a sudden I have a child's feet. Like, you know, I
Yeah.
didn't understand, why that was. And then it wasn't until I started making my own shoes that I was like, oh, it's because traditionally society has pretty much conditioned us to think like men need to have big sized feet and look big sized, and women need to look like they have very tiny, petite little feet,
Oh, yes.
to be demure because they're not supposed to walk around and make a lot of noise,
You're
and
supposed to be
so
invisible.
yeah, exactly, and so I was like, I would be a hypocrite if I only made shoes for myself. I need to break open this entire binary, outlook of shoes, because all shoes are made either as women's last or men's last, which is the mold of the shoe.
Okay.
And I was like, screw this. I'm gonna make my own last that's gender equal and gender neutral, so that when you look at it, you literally look at my mold and you can't figure out, like, is that a man or a woman's, and that's what I set out to do. And once I started doing that, I was like, well, I would be a hypocrite if I only made masculine of center shoes, because that's what I like. But what about all the other people,
Yeah.
And so I started designing more gender neutral collection, so that it could be like, my Giorgios, for example. It's a pair of black boots where you would look at it and you cannot tell, like, is that a man, like, men's boot or women's boot. And that's the whole point, is that I want to inspire people to think differently, because if they can't pinpoint something, then they're gonna realize that it doesn't matter.
Thank you for that. And I like the fact you said gender equal,
Mhm.
because this is about equality. And my personal standpoint, I'm a geologist. I studied geology. I did not want to wear pink. I wanted to be hardcore tough. I'm equal to the boys. And my first job, environmental consulting, I had to get steel-toed boots. They did not make women's. So I got the smallest men's I could find, and they said, oh, just stuff some socks in the toe. These were safety boots. Stuff some socks in the toe.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do. I had no option. I had to get boots. It was mandatory. So the fact that you're keeping something gender equal, providing something for everyone, that is great. And I do want to point out the reason we're having this conversation that hit me the hardest is when you said John makes so much more money. John's clothing is so well made. John's clothing costs so little. Jane's clothing is so expensive. Jane's clothing is not well made, and Jane makes less than John.
Mhm.
That's not okay.
Exactly. And society and culturally, we've been trained to think, women's clothing are seasonal. You're not supposed to wear them more, like, oh, God forbid you see the same outfit on somebody more than once. And meanwhile, men literally can go to every formal event with the same suit and change, like, a shirt or a tie.
Yeah, that's all they have.
Yeah.
Which I feel bad for them. They do need a little flair sometimes. They kind of
Sure.
want to switch it up.
Absolutely. And that's why I think shoes, I've always been such a lover of shoes and accessories, because that's where I think the flair is, that you get to add on, and shoes are really the one thing on your body that you wear all day, that carries the entire weight of your body, and you're pounding the crap out of it all day long, walking with your entire weight. And yet so many people don't spend the kind of money on their shoes.
That's a good point.
Right? Because they want something that just, like, is hot, or like, they don't even care about comfort sometimes. How many people have complained about their Louboutins?
I've tried. Yeah, I do have one pair of Louboutin, and
Mhm.
I think I've worn them 4 times because they hurt.
And that blows my mind, because it's like, how much did you pay for them? Like, because I'm pretty sure you can buy, like, 6 pairs of my shoes with that.
Well, I did get them. 1, they were a birthday present. 2, it was probably, God, 15, 20 years ago. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So they weren't as much as they are now.
Yeah. And that's the thing, I guess, also, like, as a queer brand, people are always talking about, like, are you supported? People don't spend money on small businesses and queer brands, because when they have money, they spend it on their, like, dream items, right? Which is usually the big labels that they couldn't afford before. So, like, even during the pandemic, I saw people who were always, like, on the ground, activating, like, oh, we got to support small businesses. But then when pandemic money came in, and also people had almost, like, extra income, they were posting about their, LVs and their Pradas,
Yep.
and yeah, they deserve it. Like, absolutely, I believe they deserve it. Absolutely, you deserve it. You deserve to treat yourself. But it's just funny. It's ironic to me, because so many people, when they finally do have money, they're not coming to the small, no-name queer brands that have literally given up their life savings to create this brand that is for, representing people and trying to inspire equity, thinking that, if enough people are buying the same high quality, durable product for the same price point, that it would inspire people to be like, you know what, I've had enough of the inequality in pay, you know? Yeah.
Well, just reverting back to how men could wear the same thing over and over again, women can't be seeing the same thing twice. That wasn't historically true. Historically, women had 2 or 3 dresses. They had sometimes parts that would come off, like a collar would come off, a sleeve would come off, or you could interchange the lace on the wrists, or a different belt or cummerbund type thing. So women could switch out pieces, have a bit of a different look, but we didn't have the mass consumerism that we have now, which is killing us with this fast fashion. We need to think backwards and go back to buying good quality, simple things that fit your lifestyle, fit what you want to look like, and that's for everybody. And equality, and again, gender equal.
Right. And that's the thing too. It's like somewhere along the line, it started out with craftsmanship. It started out with like
The
really,
art.
yeah,
Yeah.
the art of like, expressing yourself. And then it became more about big companies making a lot of money and like
Yeah.
making their
Investors.
customers happy, right? Like, and I think like we've gotten to the point where like so many people have become pretty jaded, right, by capitalism, and there, there's this huge resurgence of going back to the art of things, right?
Yeah.
And so I
Oh,
really hope that, as we realize, like with climate change and all of the politics that are going on, that people are going to start going back to those roots again
I
of
hope
like,
so.
me too, because we're kind of killing our society in that way.
No, we are. I mean, I remember buying stuff. I'm a child of the 80s, folks. So buying stuff in the 80s, it was a name brand. I won't name brands, but still around today. And I had a pair of trousers that I bought in the 8th grade that I wore to my freshman year in college. And I spent all my Christmas money on it. And I just remember I had them lengthened as much as possible, to the point where they were floods, and they were dress trousers, to the point where I couldn't wear them anymore. Not because they wore out, because I couldn't get them long enough. They were floods. And I think I handed them down to my sister, who's a little bit shorter than I am, or maybe even my mom. But they lasted forever. They wore like iron. They were made of wool. They were a houndstooth. And nowadays, you buy a pair of trousers and just picking and just feeling the fabric, like this feels like dryer lint sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. And I returned a pair of trousers recently. I bought them online. They were on sale. They were still $350. I got them. I looked at them. I'm like, this is terrible material.
Mm-hmm.
And I returned them because I was like, this is not worth it at all. And they would have easily worn out in the knees and the backside. And that's the problem. And people are now getting used to that. They think that is okay.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, and it's not. And materials like what you actually use quality stuff.
Right.
You actually tailor it to the foot. You're actually making this tailored to the,
Right.
It's not custom, folks. You're not going to get it for this good price point,
Right.
but it's as close to custom as you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah, I always tell people, when they're putting on my shoes, because especially if they're, cisgendered women who are very used to being conditioned, by the shoe industry, that like when they put on a pair of shoes, their toes are going to the end, and that's where it fits, And so when they wear my shoes and they're like, there's like space, it's too big. I'm like, actually, if you look at a pair of shoes, it shouldn't, and like if it goes this way, your whole foot is not supposed to go to the end,
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
right? And so like you just have to feel like somebody is taking a pair of hands and hugging your foot. And if it feels that way, then it's comfortable and you can walk on it, and it's giving you the support you need. And the rest is really about adjusting. When you look in the mirror, if it looks big to you, is it because you've been conditioned to think that your feet's supposed to look really tiny? Or
Yeah.
should it look proportionate?
Oh,
Should
yeah.
it look proportionate so that it carries the entire weight of your body? And it should be big enough so that you're not leaning forward or backwards.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've done damage to my foot from shoes. I've definitely caused some structural bone damage,
Mm.
but I've seen women who have completely mutilated their toes.
Yeah.
because they've crammed them into these little shoes
Right.
because they were told you can't have anything larger than the size 7.
Right.
And no, it's your foot, it's your body, it's your comfort level. To hell with anyone else,
Yeah.
honestly.
Absolutely. And it's ridiculous. Like once I started making shoes, I think I became so much more aware. So
Yeah,
wherever I would go, I would just people watch and I would look at everyone's feet.
I
And
do
it
that
really
too.
dawned on me, like, we're in a culture, in a society that, is ingrained. And I hate that I don't want to, I probably I should not be naming names, but like, think of the family that everybody knows with like big boobs, big butts, like, and then tiny little feet, right? And so like that is kind of like what we've been ingrained like as the ideal figure, right? And when I look on the street and I see all of these women with their little tiny shoes and high heels and like giant heels, and they're like, it's literally like it looks top heavy, right? Because they're big busted.
Yeah, it's like
Thinking, like, how are
huge.
you even balancing right now?
I have no clue
Tiny
because
little,
I've bought those shoes and they are collecting dust in my. The day I die, someone's going to get an amazing shoe collection because it's all brand new, never worn, cute, and I loved it and I had to have it. But I
Mhm,
can't walk in them. I can't walk 5 feet.
right? Yeah, and then think about like how horrible, like the one thing that carries the entire weight of your body you don't take care of,
Yeah.
and how that affects your spine and the rest of your body.
Your hips, your
Yeah,
knees,
exactly.
everything.
Everything is, misaligned now, and then you're gonna have to suffer through all of that
Yeah.
agony later on as you get older.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just like a whole thing for me. Once I just started really diving in, I was like, oh my god, why isn't everyone just wearing comfortable shoes? And so I even set out to design high heels that were very like kind of in that same shape so that it's healthier for your foot, but like
Yeah.
how to do it so that you still have like a beautiful, sexy silhouette.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, like I've spent pre-pandemic, I spent like 2, 3 years really diving deep. I had all my feminine of center friends come over and we just talked heels. Um, but a huge barrier was that I could not really find a lot of factories that wanted to work with me because once they heard that I'm working in a 14 size range that
Oh,
spans from like a woman's 4 to a men's 14, they're like, oh, that's like too much for them.
really?
Yeah,
Shame, because that would actually be a fantastic market to tap into that is largely overlooked.
exactly. And but it is a lot of, investment in terms of research because how do you get a pair of heels that is going to be completely durable and sturdy for someone who's like 5 foot in a size 6 versus somebody who's like 250 pounds and like 6 foot 5,
Yeah.
right? Like, how do you scale that? So it just takes a
That I don't
lot
know.
of time and money.
Yeah, I mean, for personal observation, because I've worn heels since I was a god 7th grade. I think I got my first pair of heels.
Wow.
Lower is sturdier.
Yeah.
These sky high stilettos we see, or even where the famous toe cleavage, where it's such a low vamp, you
Hmm.
walk right out of those. I have clearly kicked off shoes. I went somewhere on a business trip and I was walking up just 3 steps, lost a shoe. My coworker looked at me and said, I can't take you anywhere. And I just hobbled over, grabbed my shoe, put it back on my foot.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're expected to walk in these things. They're super high, have nothing's holding it in.
Right.
There's
Right.
no strap. It's
Yeah.
just this tiny little thing. So you're going to just lose that shoe.
Right.
And that's what we need to stop doing.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm really down for designing something really sexy, but that's going to be like really, really comfortable. So I've got some prototypes. I just put a pause on it because of the pandemic, but I will get back to it.
Good. I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to that. And so just so people can find you, NiK Kacy Footwear, where can they online, obviously, but do you have like brick and mortar that they could find you or anything like that?
Yeah, so sadly, I don't have a brick and mortar because, everyone
crazy
shops
expensive.
online these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one goes indoors anymore. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I don't quite have the same like return policies as like some of the larger corporations that exist. But I think that most of the time people are very understanding.
Yeah.
If it doesn't fit, like we'll exchange or whatnot, um, or store credit or something like that. But they can shop on nickkacy.com, which is NiKKACY.com. It's actually right behind me here.
I see.
Um, my social media, NiK Kacy Footwear, Equality Fashion Week, which we talked about last time.
Plug it
And
again. People need to
yeah,
know. People need to
we're
know.
from June 1st for kicking off WeHo Pride and Pride Month at the Sunset at Edition on Sunset in Doheny. It's Queer Prom is the fundraising benefit for Equality Fashion Week that I do each year. This is our second year because Equality Fashion Week is the first LGBTQ focused fashion week in LA. And I hope to take that nationwide one day because there's plenty of, and growing now, plenty of cities that really lack the representation and the visibility that so many of us in the LGBTQ community need and deserve. And especially now, even more and more states are rolling back all of our rights and
Yeah,
our care. So I think more than ever, we really need to be visible and help each other.
absolutely. And I do everything possible to help with the visibility and the support because it's a very important community that we all need.
Mhm.
But I just have to ask on a personal note, you going to design clothes anytime soon?
I thought about it, and the reason I hadn't, I think I did like a T-shirt for the Women's March, when
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, because and it was just like a limited amount. I just like wanted to create something because my motto is about it's called Walk Your Way, and so when it came to the Women's March, I was like, we literally are gonna walk our way and march down for women's rights because it's important obviously, but it's about all of us being authentic in the way that we navigate right through life.
Yeah,
um, so that was like my only real endeavor because I just feel like there's so many clothing companies, like particularly queer owned ones that I support, that I don't want to take away from that.
yeah. No, I understand that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But just if you want to expand one day, and I'm
I
looking forward
know.
to what you do with
I
heels, though.
trust me, I do because I love clothes. Like I'm very particular in my style. It's a very classic look, and the
Yeah,
way I design my shoes is that same idea. Is like everything is classic, so you can wear it anytime, any season, any day, any event.
very important.
And it's also great because it saves me a lot of time from like I'm very busy. I don't
Yeah.
like to spend a lot of time wondering like what am I gonna wear.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you have a wardrobe of classic designs, you literally can throw any of them together. It's like modular,
Yeah.
just like my
And
home together.
yeah. Albert Einstein wore the same thing every day because he's like, I don't have enough time to think about what to wear. I'm too
Right.
busy doing other things.
Exactly.
And had the same outfit every day. Now, mind you, that gets a little dull for most
Right.
people, but if you have interchangeable, as you said, modular, switch
Yeah.
one thing out, put something in,
Yeah.
that's actually the way, again, it used to be that way.
Hmm.
You could switch out a blouse with your suit or different
Right.
top with your skirt, pants, whatever.
Hmm.
It all worked, it all matched, it all
Yeah.
coordinated.
Yeah.
And we do need to get back to that. Plus, it's better than fast fashion and doing,
Yeah.
I don't know how many fashion, I mean, some of these houses, some of these fast fashion places will do like, a new look every 2 weeks. They'll
Hmm.
release new lines every 2 weeks. And it used to be
Exactly.
4 a year. It used to just be four.
Yeah.
That was it. And we've lost our way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, on that, NiK, thank you so much again. I love what you're doing. I love everything you support and that you stand for. So, as you have more releases, come back, talk about it.
I
I
love
love the
that.
shoes. I love the clothing. And check NiK out. NiK Kacy, that's NiKKACY Footwear. So check them out. Excellent quality shoes. You can see a little bit of the shoe behind NiK's head. On
Thank you
that,
so
guy.
much for having me.
Oh,
It was fun, as
anytime.
always.
I love our conversations. I mean, you're so easy to talk to and just sharing the love of fashion and design and the art of it and how it just, we need the art back. So on that, guys, I'm Wendy Nystrom, your host with Environmental Social Justice. Again, NiK Kacy. Check out the Footwear. Bye. Talk to you later.